really was to
that I felt like I needed, and I was comfortable in that space of just me and God.
It is offensive. Hope is desperate.
Hey, everybody. Happy Monday morning. Welcome to Jumpstart Your Vision with Coach Karen Hilton. I am Coach Karen Hilton, and I am so excited to welcome you into this sacred, beautiful space. It's Monday, and it's my favorite day of the week. I hope it is yours too. This is the place for vision-driven entrepreneurs, workplace leaders, and the mission-minded to be able to do a few things. One, we want to help you build a vision that you love. We also want to help you get focused around the things that matter. We want to help you connect to your God-given purpose. And we want to help you develop the perspective to navigate when the winds of life and career blow. If that's your jam, you're in the right place, friend. And I want to just welcome you in. You know it. We've got Coach John Kovaleski in the back. He is our executive technical producer. He's joining us from West Virginia. So, hey, Magic. I don't want to call you Magic John. That doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound right at all. Just forget I even said that. But we'll come up with some other nickname. John is my twin. And if you know John Kovaleski, you will understand exactly what I mean when I say that. But anyway, he's doing all the magic in the background. If you are here, come on in the chat. We want to welcome you to this conversation. And that's exactly what it is. This is a learning environment where we really curate this space. We work tirelessly behind the scenes to bring you content that is impactful for you. We don't want you to just make a difference. We want you to make an impact. And there's a specific way to go about doing that. We are dropping all of the secrets. And today I'm getting kind of personal. I am also going to be sharing some of my stuff. Why? Because there are things that I wish I had known. Have you ever felt like that? Like you're in the middle of doing whatever it is you're doing and it starts to feel bigger than you, like it starts to come for you. And you wonder as an entrepreneur, is this even something I can do? Is this cut out for me? So I'm hoping that today, my guest, who is so special to me, is going to unpack some things for you. She's going to inspire you. And let me be really clear. If you are a for-profit, not-for-profit, if you are thinking about writing a book, if you are thinking about doing anything bigger than yourself, you're going to want to tune in. So this is not just for those of you that want to be gajillionaires of a huge company. This is for those of you that really want to do something bigger than yourselves. You can probably tag yourself an entrepreneur, but I'm not going to spoil it. I'm going to let her do it. But for just a second, I want to pull everybody in here. Hey, good morning, everybody. We've got none other than our community pastor, Pastor Andy Smith. Come on in here. Hey, Pastor Andy, we're so excited to have you in here. He's on the road, but y'all, talk about hashtag commitment. He's all up in here. And I absolutely love that. We've got Lorianne Taylor. Good morning, Lorianne. It's so good to see you in here. Angela Karanja. Oh my gosh. Angela's got a story too. She's got an amazing vision. I can't wait maybe one day to have her in here. So good morning, Angela. And then the incomparable Dr. Tiffany Pierce, who is an amazing coach. She's part of our community. If you're not following her, go follow her at You Coaching everywhere on social media. She's got some stuff to talk about. I'm telling you, she's anointed. And that book, we got to talk about it. All right. And you probably hear Duke in the background. That's my dog. He's joining, special guest. So just forgive that. Welcome to the virtual world. Anyway, good morning. We are talking about what your vision wishes you knew about money today. And why are we talking about it? One of the questions that I get the most often is, Karen, how did you get this business? Like, oh my gosh, like I want to be you. And in my head, I'm thinking, are you sure about that? Are you sure? Because if you knew what got me to here, you may change your mind. But I want to give you hope. I want to give you the kind of hope that I didn't have when I first started. I didn't have the network. I didn't have funding. I didn't have, all the things that you're supposed to have when I got started. What I had was an idea and a seed. And this seed kept me up at night. Like I couldn't shake it. I could not shake it. Anybody like that? Maybe you're like Pastor Andy and you're in ministry and you feel God stirring something in you, but you're not even really sure how to get started. Or maybe you've gotten some momentum and you've gotten kind of to a stopping place. I understand what that's like, right? Or maybe you've gotten to a place where you know you need help, but you feel like I don't even know where to begin. And I don't know the things that I need to be able to get that started. If that's you, I want you to listen in. Now, I also want to talk to that person who feels like, you know what, I'm full of good ideas and I can stay busy with the best of them, but I know how to make money, but I don't know how to keep money. I'm coming for you today because I want to inspire you. I want to encourage your heart. And with no other delay, I want to bring in our special guest today, none other than Marguerite Pressley-Davis. Come on in here, Marguerite.
Hi, Karen. How are you?
Good morning. I'm great. How are you?
I am fabulous. There is no other person that I could be with on a Monday morning at 8 than you, Karen.
Well, y'all, Marguerite Pressley-Davis is she's a lot of things. I'm gonna give her an opportunity to introduce herself because I want her to tell all the things. And Marguerite, I do not want you to be modest, okay? People need to know street cred, okay? But y'all need to know that Marguerite is our business and finance coach. I started working with Marguerite, was it 4 years ago, or are we working on 5?
I think maybe 5. When we first started working together, it was like you were there from the beginning, Karen.
Yeah, I think it's been 5 years now. And I actually found out about Marguerite on Facebook. I found out about one of her workshops. So y'all stop hating on Facebook because Facebook done changed my life. Don't tell Mark Zuckerberg. But I found out about her workshop, and I was right at that point in my business where I felt overwhelmed. I was growing so fast, and I wanted to do more, but I wasn't sure how. And I had a little bit of a secret that I kept under wraps, right? So I was going all the places. I was getting hired and referred. I was doing the kind of business that I wanted to be doing, but I was absolutely worn out. I had absolutely no idea kind of what to do next. And so I saw this workshop being advertised by this former Wall Street, rainmaker. And it was all about, helping small businesses step into that CEO role. And she immediately got my attention because I really hadn't gotten my head around being a CEO. I was just grateful to have clients. Anybody? I was just grateful to have somebody who would just listen, right? Who would walk into a door to a workshop or whatever it was. So I needed to step into that, but I had no idea where to start with that. Y'all, in 4 hours, it was a 4-hour workshop. It was a half-day workshop. In 4 hours, I learned more about business and business acumen than I had in a lifetime of being in the private sector and in business. And I'm not exaggerating. Like I walked out of there with my mind blown. And I sent Marguerite an email and I said, I can't work with you right now, but I'm coming for you because I think you've got something that I need. Isn't that right, Marguerite?
That is exactly right. That's exactly right. And it's so funny too, Karen. I don't think I've ever told you that, but during the workshop, I was sitting there like, I really hope that she's enjoying this. I really hope that she's liking it. And later when I did tell you because you're like, no, Marguerite, you're like, I was just thinking the whole time during your workshop. And I was so nervous leaving there, wondering if it connected.
Wow. Well, you had nothing to worry about because I'm telling you, it was a game changer for me. And we're going to talk about kind of all of the things, but Marguerite, introduce yourself to our community. I could do it, but what I really want you to talk about, what I really want you to share is kind of who you are, who you serve and how you serve them, and how you got to here. Y'all, listen to this story. I want you to take notes.
Yeah, so where I currently am and what I currently do is I am the founder and CEO of Finance Savvy CEO. So this is a fintech edtech platform where it is members only based and program based. And we help small business owners and entrepreneurs really become finance savvy CEOs. And what that means to us is really helping those small business owners and entrepreneurs with small business financial education so that they can feel more confident in their financial acumen when they're running a business, so they can feel confident in the business decisions that they are making because they know how to take the money factor into account. And the whole mission, the whole goal behind what we do is to help create generational wealth amongst specifically female entrepreneurs because of the historic gap that happens for this group of individuals. So that's what I do now. I also run a one-on-one consulting agency that it's primarily based on the very same things around helping women to raise capital. Right now, there's a disproportionate gap between the number of individuals who are running small businesses, but that can actually raise venture capital. And we focus on financial planning, capital planning. Once you have that money or whatever money that is that you have, how do you make good capital decisions on how you're spending it, how much you're keeping, how much you're pricing, the whole nine. So that's where I am now. But it was quite the journey to actually get here. I started off my career on Wall Street. I was at Goldman Sachs as a financial analyst. I supported about a $2.5 billion book of commercial real estate and private equity investments. And we were primarily investing in hotels and casinos. And if you can remember the last recession around the 2007 timeframe,
Yeah.
it was not the time to be investing in hotels and casinos. A lot of our thesis was around the fact that Vegas would be recession proof, and that proved not to be the case during the last recession. And I saw entire trading floors get just wiped out. And while I did survive the layoffs, for me, Karen, it was my first realization that I didn't want the work that I was doing to be so closely tied to something I couldn't control. I couldn't control the recession. I couldn't control these companies going out of business. And what I wanted to do then is said to myself, Marguerite, there is something you can do. You can work directly with the CEOs and the CFOs to help them make better decisions before their businesses go out of business. So that was my catalyst at that point, that I wanted to do a career shift. So I decided that I needed a platform to really teach me more holistic business outside of the work that I did at Goldman that was really deep financial focus and really deep with the full Fortune 500 type of companies, Series E, mega billion-dollar companies. So I decided to go to B school in order to gain that strategic overall end-to-end operations of a business.
And when you say tell people what you mean.
Yep, I went to business school at NYU, and
No small school.
Yeah, I mean, this was the really a life-changing moment for me, Karen, because while I was at NYU, I had this really incredible opportunity to work at the Clinton Foundation and work on their economic opportunity initiative. And the whole catalyst behind this economic opportunity initiative is to trying to stimulate the economy in underserved areas. And the way we did this was we focused on working with the small business owners and helping them to drive growth organically. Because once they could have the growth within their small business, they were hiring. And when they hired more, that meant new jobs for additional families in the community and exponential impact. And that was the most, I will say, heart's work that I had ever done. Because at Goldman, it was a lot, and I shouldn't say Goldman, at any bank, there is a need for, you want to generate more profits for the trading desk. You want it to be as profitable as possible, which is fine. But with the work that I was doing with the Clinton Foundation, it was really, really important about seeing that transformation right there with the small business owner, being able to see him make his first hire, being able to see him say, hey, oh my gosh, we're in the green for the first time. And so for me, I was sold. I knew that the work that I was meant to do was with small business owners and entrepreneurs because of the immediate impact that it could happen, as well as how one small incremental financial change, you for them an additional $500,000 meant they could send their kid to the private school that they wanted. Versus in the corporate world, it was more of, can you find a million more? Can you find 2 million more? Again, which is fine, but very different for the heart's work that I wanted to do. So after business school at NYU, I had an incredible opportunity to go and work in mergers and acquisitions. I did go back into corporate world working for Fortune 500 because after NYU I had some bills to pay. So decided that going at first before going back to the small business world would be the way, my avenue there. And I told myself I was going to do it for 2 years and then I was out. I was going to go back to help small businesses. Well, 2 years became 3 years, 3 years became 4 years, and then it was like a half a decade here in mergers and acquisitions consulting. But I stayed there, Karen, because I said that I wouldn't leave until I stopped learning, but I never stopped learning. There were still so many amazing things to learn. I was working on international business acquisitions and mergers. So I was working in Ireland, I was working in Mexico City, I was working in Amsterdam, and I was just learning so much, all in the vein of helping companies to grow and scale, typically through buying one or selling out a division or divesting a part of one of their units. And
Mhm.
so I was learning an incredible much, but I got to the point, Karen, where remember the heart's work was telling you I was doing when I was working with the small businesses that really took a toll.
Yeah.
And I felt I didn't feel fulfilled in the way that I wanted to feel in my career.
Mhm.
I felt like I was, by any definition, doing amazing, great, excelling. But what mattered to me was how the work I was doing, the level of fulfillment it was giving me. And it wasn't there as much after the half a decade doing it. And truthfully, too, I was a bit burnt out. I used to travel Monday through Thursday of every single week. And I was at the point where I was like, this is about all my body think is telling me I can take for right now.
Wow.
Um, so I wanted to transition then to small businesses at that point, Karen, but I wanted to prove to myself that I could do a small business on my own. My experience was with corporate, even though I'm a fourth generation entrepreneur. So I like learned to count from doing my dad's books.
Yeah.
But so I started my first retail tech company right after I had left mergers and acquisitions consulting. And I started it out of just a pure need that I had when like I was planning my own wedding. And what started off as just an idea that I wanted to prove myself that I could implement everything I was doing for my clients, it ended in this really successful business. We had a successful exit from it within 4 years and really found myself at this place. And I should say, before I had the exit from it, a year before that, I had done Shark Tank. And when I was filming Shark Tank, Mr. Wonderful is a lot less unpleasant in person than he even is on TV. But going
Are
through
you
that,
wait, hold on a second. I'm sorry to interrupt you. There's a little bit of a reverb. I apologize for that.
yeah,
But we can't skip this. Okay. Okay. First of all, there are two things we can't skip. First of all, we'll talk about the exit in a minute. But second of all, you were on Shark Tank. Yeah.
yeah, it
And
was quite the experience.
you were on Shark Tank. And while Mr. Wonderful, I'm sure he has a persona he has to keep up. But it's no small feat to be able to stand in front of some of the richest people in the world, right? Easily in the top 1% or 5%, sitting in front of you, having to present and defend your business and ask for a capital investment. And it was after that you had the exit. Is that right?
It was
Okay.
after
So,
it.
yeah. So let's not miss this. And I know there's some things you can't talk about, but how did it go at Shark Tank? And then talk about the exit and tell people what it means to exit. This is big, you guys. Don't miss this. I don't care who you are on this. If you're a nonprofit, profit, whatever, listen to this. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, the interesting part about it is, as I said, Mr. Wonderful was a lot less wonderful in person, even than on the show. But ultimately, Mr. Wonderful's advice to me was to shut it down. He said this wasn't my area of expertise, shut the business down, and goes off on a whole rant about closing the business down. Robert was incredible. He said, you're one of the most, he says, you are one of the most dynamic entrepreneurs that have stood on this stage. He said, but Mr. Wonderful was out. Lori was like in love with it. And long story short of it, I walked away with no deal. And my takeaway, and the only thing that I could hear was Mr. Wonderful telling me to shut the business down. And of course, in all fairness, it's very dramatized a bit on TV because it's scripted, it's television, so he's probably a little bit extra dramatic about it. But that is all I could hear was literally Mr. Wonderful screaming to shut my business down. So fast forward, the exit came after. So good thing I didn't take Mr. Wonderful's advice. But it was a really big point for me at that time because I had a decision to make around the direction that I wanted to take my company. We had completely bootstrapped it. I hadn't gotten a dime of funding from it. And we had over like 10,000 customers per month or brides, I should say, that we were serving per month. And so it was a really pivotal point for me at that time to say, what do you want to do with this, Marguerite? And the goal for me going in, it was always to exit Karen. Like that was the goal from day one. I did uber growth strategies simply to get the numbers that I could that would make it attractive for exit. So it was really intentional.
And
But
Margaret, what do you mean by an exit?
Oh yeah, so we sold it. We did a private transaction where we sold the company. So what that means, an exit can be different things at different times. For us, I was able to keep a seat on the board. I had certain obligations that I have to do as far as until they get to a certain point, and you negotiate what are the terms of that deal. But exit basically means I am no longer sitting there having to run the business day to day. I get to take cash off of the table from what I built. That's
let me translate in Karen terms. You got paid, okay? That's what we're talking about. Let's just okay. You started with an idea to serve. You had a vision for something. And let's be clear, vision always starts way earlier than we think it does, right? Because if you listen to Marguerite's story, there was a path to where she went. I want to talk to that person who feels like you have small beginnings, like you're not doing anything big, or you're just in ministry, right? Pastor Andy can talk about this. I really want to get him on something to talk about. You're just in ministry, or maybe you're on the struggle bus and you feel stuck, right? Marguerite, it comes from a family of entrepreneurs, but her journey was no crystal staircase. Okay. It was no crystal staircase, but she held on to something that was a God planted seed inside of her. And no small thing, like you literally had like the voice of doubt, right? Like these are the people who, in secular terms should have been able to just shut it down, who should have been able to speak to you and say, go away. Your vision isn't worth anything. But you step back. Marguerite, for just a minute, I want you to share with our community what role did your faith play in checking that, in checking the voice of doubt, to clarify that what you had was a God-given vision to be able to move forward. Talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, definitely. I do these things, Karen, where it's like I do the whole gut checking in with my spirit, because I am a strong believer that you get signs really clearly as far as the path that you're supposed to take, as long as you can listen to them. Like, I think we all get signs. It's just a matter of listening to them or not listening to them. And for me, it was like really tough, absolutely, to be able to make a decision of like, what is the path that I want to go right now? But looking listening to my gut, listening to that direction of like, hey, Marguerite, like, no, stick to it. This is the path. Like, that is the core for me. And I know that may sound really simple, but it's like one of the things I do each morning is like, I ask for like direction on the path and like signs for it. And so for me, it was, I think, also the sign that not long after of when I was on Shark Tank, there was the woman who had approached me years before that, and it wasn't time for the exit. She saw me at a show I was doing. So for me, there was no clear, like, undeniable sign that, like, all right, this is actually the path you're supposed to be on.
Wow. Pastor Andy asked, love that you had clearly defined end game. I'd love to hear more about how you knew when it was time to exit. I think a lot of our community members, we have CEOs, authors, attorneys, artisans, authors. We have people who are dualpreneurs, right? They're running multiple businesses, or maybe they're working in corporate and building something on the side. So there's always this question about, how do you know when it's time? And in your case, I'm sure there was a financial metric, but maybe you can talk about what I think really what we talk about is kind of mindset and the vision-driven life, being led by, you referred to it as the Spirit. We talk a lot about the prompting of the Holy Spirit, right? And staying connected to God's purpose for us. But for you, Marguerite, how did you know to trust yourself that it's time to jump? It's time to do something different.
Yeah. So one was really like a technical tangible that I'll tell you about, and then one wasn't as technical. The first technical was, as Karen mentioned, it was really just financial related. Given my background in mergers and acquisitions, I knew what I needed to hit or be hitting consistently in monthly reoccurring revenue to be able to get the exit number that I had a vision for, right? So I knew how many customers I needed to have. I knew how much cash that I needed to have in like free cash flow and on a monthly basis for the valuation that I wanted to make sense. So that's on like the very, very technical side. But on the non-technical side, I was really honest about with myself that I had taken this business as far as I could take it. Meaning that I was honest with myself on like the next person who took this business. They needed to be like in love with the wedding industry. They needed to be a digital marketing guru. Those were the two things that they needed to be able to make this company again like 10 times more growth than the 10 times growth I had seen within the first 5 years. So it was being super, super honest with myself on what I was passionate about, as well as what my limitations were. I think that being honest with yourself about what your passions are is really key. Karen, if you remember, I said like my vision from the beginning was to exit. Like I knew nothing about the wedding industry.
Hold on one second. Let me sit right there.
Yeah.
At the time, you didn't know anything about the wedding industry, but you jumped into it. Okay, so let's pull all of you in here who feel like you're out of your depth. God is like, he's like all up in your business about doing something. And one of the people that comes to mind, Pastor Andy, we should have Mike on the show. There's a gentleman who is a police officer who saw a need in his work, and he like you talk about getting a spirit check or a gut check as you're calling it. He got wrecked with this idea that was bigger than himself. Like there was no way he could have done it on his own. And when you hear where he was to where he is today, this guy has bought like, probably a couple $1 million worth of mobile facilities to be able to help people take showers in disaster areas. He feeds them. Like he literally will get in this truck that he has had funded. He literally just sends it out and like, I need help. Wow. And people pay for these multi-million-dollar mobile units. He refurbs them, and he will go anywhere in the country where people need help. And to me, I think it's really important. When I stepped into the world of executive coaching and leadership development, I had a career, but I had no clue. Like I'd never started a business before, right? And I was like, oh, I'm going to just, I'll keep busy. I'll have some spending money or whatever. And and I feel like the Holy Spirit was like, bless your heart. He didn't know what I was, I didn't know what he was getting ready to do in me. And so it's so inspirational to me to hear you say that you had no idea. And it's not lost on me, Marguerite, that when you're a moneymaker, like you do stuff in your head in finances, and for some of you that are listening to Marguerite talk about mergers and acquisitions and exits and all of positive cash flow, what you hear is, I get it. Because when I started with her, I was terrified because I did not grow up, balancing my dad's books, right? We were in ministry. So, I probably had from childhood a little bit of the poverty mentality, right? Like you can't have anything. You've got to, woe is me. And, let's wear sackcloth and ashes. That is not what scripture says. That is not what God intends. Of course, there are people who are called to that life and bless them. But let me be very clear with you. And I think Marguerite would back me up on this. If you want to do anything, I don't care if you're in the nonprofit space, if you're in the for-profit space, you have to have cash, friend, to be able to build a vision you love. You have to be able to have business acumen and you have to be financially savvy. When I walked into Marguerite's workshop, I was a train wreck when it came to all the things. I knew how to make money, and lots of us in our community know how to make money. I'm preaching to somebody this morning. You know how to make money. You have great ideas. People will follow you. The real question when I stepped into CEO mode was when I began to learn not just how to make money, but how to keep money. That is when you begin to make the shift into CEO mode. Marguerite, can you unpack that for a minute?
Yeah, and I think what's so powerful is it's like what you're saying, Karen. It's like when you start to keep money, that is when your company grows and scales. So I think that in business, it can get really confusing out here, especially in like the diluted world of social media and digital marketing, that business is about how much money you can make. Well, I mean, yeah, that's part of it, but it's far more important when you're talking about an exit, when you're talking about wanting to sell off one day, is how much of that money that you make can you actually keep so that you can use it to reinvest in your business and you can grow it and you can scale the whole nine. So absolutely. And what I will say is that it's like mindset is the big piece of it. And you mentioned like the biblical reference there, like there's over 800 references to money in the Bible. And so for me, that is an indication that like as a person of faith, like we should be good with money. Like God wants us to be good with money and be good stewards of it. But I think a lot of it can sometimes be our mindset or our beliefs around our thoughts about money, and money may not be being a good thing. But for me, I always have looked at money as just a tool. It is a tool for you to have impact. It is a tool for you to have flexibility and a tool for you to have freedom. I think it's when we give too much weight to money that it becomes something so much more than just that. And we start to psych ourselves out around the importance of really sound financial management, financial acumen, and what the power of having that as a tool can do for your life, your family life, other people's lives.
I don't know if y'all caught that, but Marguerite just dropped a whole class. That was a master class, y'all, on money. When I started working with Marguerite, when I bit the bullet and I'm like, I've got to do this, I did this not because I'm that smart, but because I felt like the Holy Spirit kept coming for me, like, Karen, I need you to do something bigger. And the only way that you're going to do it is if you break through this kind of childhood mentality about you've always got to be on the struggle bus or nobody's there for you, if that's you and you are trying to do something bigger than yourself, maybe like Dr. Tiffany Pierce, you want to go back and write another book. Maybe you want to write a series of books. Maybe you want to build a business around what it is that you've written. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of the strategies that a lot of people miss, including the mission-minded and that sort of thing, in terms of being able to build wealth and build resources, right? But maybe that's you. One of the things that is important to know about my journey is that when I sat with Marguerite, and Marguerite will tell you this, I'm telling all my business. Y'all are going to think differently of me, and that's okay, because it's going to set somebody free. When I sat with Marguerite early in our sessions, I would like cry because I was so like this debilitating perspective on money. And what I did was I was making money. So I just threw things at trying to solve my issues, trying to solve managing customers and clients and trying to figure out the whole social media thing, just throwing money at it. But what I really needed was I needed a pulse check. I needed a partner to come alongside me in a non-judgmental way. And let me just tell you, Marguerite and her programs, her courses, anything she does, it is the safest place you will ever be when it comes to money mindset and stepping into CEO role, right? If you are, well, I'm doing fine, I don't want to be a $1 billion business. You don't have to be a $1 billion business, but let me tell you what you do need. What you do need is, if you are going to do what it is God has given you to do, you are going to have to do it in good order. And I'm right now, I'm just all in the space of doing things in good order. If you are going to do things in good order, you are going to have to break through that. So sitting with Marguerite and allowing her to hold space for me. Remember, I hold space for people. I make a living holding space for people, some of the smartest, most well-paid, most innovative people on the planet. But I needed somebody to hold space for me. When you get to the place that you realize that your vision is bigger than you, and any of you that are in this community, if you are listening to the sound of my voice live or on replay, your vision is bigger than you. If God gave it to you, it's bigger than you. So if you're that little small business and you're doing the hustle bus, I need you to lean in and listen. And Marguerite, thank you for sharing that. I want to talk to the mission driven. I want to talk to those in our community who are pastors or community leaders or politicians. They're serving in some kind of community role. And they're like, well, I'm responsible for raising money, but our community, they don't really have a lot of money. I see the purse strings, but it is what it is. What would you say to them to kind of put a spark in their heart about being finance savvy?
The biggest thing that I will say in all of my learnings is that you need capital to have that impact, right? Think about the individuals that you're helping and that you're so passionate about helping. Now, think about how many more you could help. Think about how much more impact that you could have with more capital to hire others, to give yourself more arms to amplify that impact. That's the number one thing that I always go back to if you're getting in your head about money and, oh, well, they don't have the funds. Well, then think more creatively around, well, then who does have the funds that can be aligned with the mission that you have and help you to further that vision? Because for me, raising capital and money, it's never about me. It's about what can I do with it to have that mission impact that I want to carry out that vision. And that would be like the number one thing I would say with that.
That's so powerful. I hope you all heard that. The idea that, money and resources and wealth is for the world, it's for everybody else, but it's not for you, is a lie. It will keep you stuck and playing small.
Mm-hmm.
And when you are honest with yourself, we talked about it earlier, when you tell yourself the truth about where you need to grow and where you have limits. Again, maybe you're that person that you can make money. So you got cash coming in, you know how to sell stuff, right? Maybe you're really good on social media, but you can't keep money. Or maybe you are hoarding money, right? You're putting it away for a rainy day, but you're not doing what it is God's called you to do. Or maybe he's put opportunities in front of you and you walk away from them because they scare you.
Yeah.
Right? This is where I'm talking about, right? And Marguerite, this idea, for example, and I am always talking to my leaders, particularly my ministry leaders, I'm not going to mention any names, but about doing things like creating courses.
Yeah.
I mean, there is so much access available, and so many of you, I'm talking to my students, Tiandra, I'm not mentioning any names, excuse me. I'm talking to my pastors, I'm talking to my entrepreneur, my authors, I'm talking to all of you. When you realize that what God has given you in your gift is a resource to be able to equip other people, right? When I got out of my own way and I started exchanging the dollars, the hours for dollars thing, that'll keep you on the hustle bus, honey. You'll be a contractor forever. You will come to the end of yourself eventually, but being able to say, okay, how can I help more people like Marguerite is talking about? That is a thing. And you need to get out of this mindset of, well, if you make money, then you're a bad person, or you're going in the other direction, you're not going to heaven. That's a lie. That's a lie that'll keep you playing small. Marguerite, what are your thoughts about that?
I totally agree. And I'm going to tell a story, Karen, about, so after I had exited the company and I was finding myself in this place of like, okay, well, like what's next? And like really checking in with myself, checking in with God, like what's next for me? I worked at this $25 million venture fund as a managing director. And it was about, I was building out programs around helping individuals from underserved communities to be able to raise capital, or underrepresented founder groups. And one of the things that I saw so much is, so a founder would come to me and they're like, so Marguerite, like, how much do you think I should raise? I'm like, how much do I think you should raise? How much money do you need? And they'll say, give me a small number. They'll say, maybe I need 500,000. I'm like, okay, you need 500,000. And I'm like, oh, well, they say, well, no, I actually really need 1 million. But I'm gonna at 500,000 will be fine. And I'm like, look at this conversation we just had.
Yeah.
You went from you needed 1 million, but you've talked yourself down within like moments of this conversation to, well, if you could just get 500,000, you'd be fine. No, it's about, what do you need? Why do you need it? And then being very true to yourself that you can be a good steward of this. Don't mitigate yourself to say, I only just need this. Ask boldly for what it is that you need and raise what you need and be able to justify. But I feel like what I see a lot in communities that maybe don't come from wealth, right? Or, they don't have that small money loan they can get of $1 million from their father, right? It is oh, well, just give me this. No, it's about understanding what you need, being bold enough to ask for it because you know that you're deserving of it, that you will be a good steward of it, and you can communicate that impact that you'll have with it.
So y'all know, sometimes we get on here and I start to pace and my tambourine starts to shake. That right there, another masterclass. When I started working with Marguerite, I did not know what I needed. And I was embarrassed to tell her that. I didn't know. Marguerite gets in the weeds with you. She walks step by step with you. She gives you the tools, the maps, the forms, the everything, and walks step by step with you to say, here are what these things mean. Here is what this looks like. When I tell you that her vision was to equip small businesses to be able to build generational wealth, I went from saying, oh, well, I don't really need anything. I can do all of that. I was like, I need a team of 10 to start.
Yeah.
And then she helped me figure out what I actually needed. She helped me right size it. She helped me understand the path to it. She helped me understand the backdrop of the financing and the pricing, the whole nine. When I tell you that Marguerite, her gift, her anointing is to equip vision-driven leaders to build a vision they love and they can keep. This one right here is the real deal.
Thank you, Karen. But you know what you said? It really sparked in something in me that I want to share that I was actually listening to yesterday. And it was talking about your spiritual gifts and how everyone has different spiritual gifts. And it's up to you to use your spiritual gift, no matter what that is. It's going to be different for every individual. But I think that one of the things that I also see is that living in the mindset of, oh, I can't spend this or I can't spend that or that's cost too much. What you're ultimately doing is you are not allowing someone else to operate in their gifts so that you can operate in yours. So that's how money ties back in as well, is being able to hire other people for those things that's not your gift so you can operate in yours.
Lord have mercy. You've done it again, and I would just go move on for the sake of time. But y'all, so I started with a workshop working with Marguerite. It blew my mind, and I took everything that she taught me in that workshop, and I began laying it over what I was doing. And I had a conversation. God and I had a conversation, and I'm like, this is terrifying. Like literally, like my whole body was just overwhelmed. But I had to really get clear about if God would put me in the right places at the right time, I would do exactly as Marguerite said. I would be a good steward of it. So, and again, this is for the believers in the house. So don't come for me because I'm not going to listen to any nasty grams. I sat down and I submitted my vision to God. I'm like, God, this is your vision, right? Like I put it back at his feet because I needed to understand order. And there's a reason for this. Y'all don't miss this. When I started like seeing the benefit, the financial benefit of my business, I began to tithe. I'm sorry, don't y'all mess with me. Okay, I'm just telling you. I began to tithe my income and begin to sow seed of my income in good ground because I didn't want there to be any confusion, not with me, not with anybody else, that this was God's vision. Listen to me very carefully. The first time I tithed, I'm not making this up. Y'all know I don't roll like that. The first time that I tithed, as I began to see the increase after working with Marguerite, I got my largest contract to date. It's not magic. I'm not trying to be funny. I'm not trying to coerce you. I'm trying to tell you that when you apply kingdom principles to your money, okay, you will begin to see a return that blows your mind. And when you begin to see a return, you will be able to operate in the gift that God has given you. You won't have to be meddling in everybody's business. For those of you that are exhausted, like you're trying to work a full-time job, you're trying to do this, you're trying to do that, having resources and knowing how to resource that and disciplining yourself to working with people like Marguerite is going to change your life. It is going to change the life of your family. You know, people ask me, Marguerite, and I've had this conversation a million times, but how do you build a vision that you love? You're disciplined. You make a decision. You have to know, as Pastor Andy would say, of what you are surely convinced, right? Marguerite, we have talked about a lot, and I mean, we could go longer, and we do. how can our community work with you? Like I found you 5 years ago and I basically stalk you. Like I don't like, if you go somewhere, I'm like, I will fold envelopes or empty the trash. Like I just want to like sit at your feet. I write down everything you do. Like, how can people work with you? Like, are you like, so y'all, I was on the phone with Marguerite the other day and she says, hold on, Karen, 1 second. The Secretary of State is calling. I'm like, oh, okay, no problem. I'll wait. And the Secretary of State has this woman on speed dial. Okay. This is no small feat. This woman like built a business from scratch, sold it. Like she's worked for some of the biggest companies, the biggest personalities. So she's a little bit busy. Okay. Marguerite, how can people work with you? Is it just a foregone conclusion that's not going to happen? I'm just saying.
Well, what Karen doesn't know, you guys, is I actually stalk her. She said it the other way around. Because Karen is the person who can call me anytime because, as you all know, as having her as your fearless community leader, everything Karen says is gold. She has a way of connecting with you. Love Karen to death. I stalk her. So just so the facts are on record, the stalking happens the other way around. You guys could not be more blessed than having such a dynamic woman leading your community. She pours so much into it. And I know that from working with her, she thinks about your community all the time, how she can have more impact, how she can create something that really allows your visions to come to life. So I feel blessed being in Karen's presence. So one of the things that Karen, and again, goes back to the me stalking Karen, is I'm working on a big project that's coming up really soon here in the fall. And when I was thinking about the program, the very first thing that I said was, we're going to be talking about a vision. And I said to Karen, I am ill equipped in your life to talk about this topic. I said, Karen, it will be you. And again, can't reveal all of it just yet, but you guys will be one of the first people to know. So just going to throw that out there. But in the meantime, Karen, there's a couple ways that they can, that we can work together. Number one is we are doing a 5-day challenge. It actually starts next week. And I call it a challenge because it's a 5-day biz money boot camp. And during this boot camp, we are working through helping you to identify ways to make more money in your business, have better financial health, find money leaks and plug those. And what I love about this is that it is completely free. It's me pouring into you for 5 days at some of those most critical things that you really need to just bump yourself up financial health wise if you're an entrepreneur or small business owner. And let's say you say, hey, Marguerite, well, I'm not a small business owner or entrepreneur yet. I think that's okay. If you want to even just come and get yourself in the right mindset, we will gladly welcome you in. And I think Karen has a link to share for you there. And the other opportunity, I say that's the most pressing one, is we'll be opening up soon into our Finance Savvy CEO membership platform. Right now, we have a very intimate group of founding founders only, one of which Karen is a part of. But one of the goals is, like I always talk about, giving more people the opportunity. Really, we're going to be opening that soon. So it's not just our founding members, to give others a chance to join us as well. But those are the two main ways right now. And the most exciting one is getting in on that free Biz Money Bootcamp, because this is access that you'll have to meet every single day in our Facebook group, with like downloading after your activity for the day, talking through it. It's me live. It's no one from my team. So we have a lot of fun. And I hope that, Karen, I'm glad to hear you say that, because money is not one of those easy topics to talk about. So I love that you said that you really do feel safe in the community that I've created to feel comfortable having those money discussions and really learning about money in a really stress-free, supportive community.
Yeah. So I have a little surprise for you. I am so excited to be able to basically hype the Biz Money Bootcamp and the membership that's coming. It has been a game changer for me. And specific to the membership, y'all, when the wait list comes out, please don't miss registering for the wait list. But when I have a question, real time, I can jump in and find any resource that I need. I can ask a question. When we get together, I get the benefit of hearing from other entrepreneurs, CEOs. And Marguerite, you have a real, like when I realized who was in the room with me in this membership, you've got, what industries do you have represented in that membership? Like, it's mind blowing.
Yeah, we have quite a bit. We have retail, we have oil and gas, we have entertainment, we have health tech apps, like the whole gamut's in there.
Yeah, like the stuff that you read about on, like in Time and Entrepreneur Magazine and Inc. Magazine and all like that. I mean, these, like, you have an incredible portfolio of small businesses, as it were, that, we convene on a regular basis. And we don't just talk about numbers. We talk about mindset. We encourage each other. Like, we hang out together. And like, if you're looking for that tribe, that is going to like help take you to the next level, this is it. But before I go any further, I have a surprise for you. Because you are launching your boot camp, we want to celebrate. So cue the confetti. Very excited. This is all for all of our community members. That boot camp is absolutely free. We want you to get in on this, you guys. This is not something that happens all the time. So let's get in the boot camp. You guys, this is your opportunity to not just talk about rocking your vision, but really do it. I don't care what segment you're in. Y'all get registered for this, okay? Like, don't miss it. Marguerite, we're getting ready to wrap. But I would love if you would just kind of pour into our community, just kind of those last little ones. Pastor Andy actually asked a question earlier that I want to go back to. And he was talking about when you went into that Shark Tank environment and you had like this major bajillionaire basically reject you, right? Like he basically told you after this amazing career, like, yeah, you don't know what you're talking about. Go sit down somewhere. Bless your heart. So can you talk to that entrepreneur, maybe that mission-driven leader who is on the cusp of doing something, but they really they've heard something or they've experienced something. Maybe they don't have support. Maybe they have, old messages in their head, or they're dealing with shame because they're embarrassed about where they are. Maybe they've made a lot of money and they've lost a lot of money. Can you maybe give some encouragement about how the Biz Money Bootcamp or the membership might be able to support what it is God is actually trying to do in them?
Yeah. And I think that is an incredible question. One of the things that I will say is when someone is rejecting you or giving you advice that doesn't feel like it lands, one of the first things that you have to do is understand, is it you or is it them? Where are they coming from with that advice? And in this particular situation, not to go into detail, all the details, but the rejection there is coming from places he was already invested in one of the biggest wedding companies, so there was nothing I could have gotten up there and said that would have made him want to invest. And I tell you that for context because it spans so much. Why is the person projecting that on you? Why are you getting that rejection? Is it because of maybe childhood trauma that they've had that they're projecting on you? Is there something else that's going on with them and they are pushing that on you? So whenever someone is giving you that advice that doesn't sit, I always go back and say, well, why is it? Where is it coming from? Because sometimes understanding that helps you to better resolve it also within your spirit. And I will say in the context of Biz Money Bootcamp, what it really helps to do is I am so huge on financial health. It's definitely not just about, can I make more money? How much of it's keep? Yes, that's part of it. But a big part of it is as well is, how financially healthy am I? Is my company? The whole nine. And being financially healthy is up to you. You have to take responsible for your own health, no matter if that's medical health or financial health, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what I love about the boot camp is it focuses on financial health, because what that allows you to do when you feel financially healthy, it clears a lot of the clutter up here. Because sometimes having concern over your finances, not having enough money, can I do this? What it's going to do is it's going to give you a block up here that really can prevent you from seeing that vision clearly, from being able to see the steps, because you're so stressed over the money.
Again, do you know that when I was on my journey, when I started, um, one of the little known partners in my business is my husband, Steve. Steve is one of the best money managers I've ever met in my life. He won't tell you that, like he is super behind the scenes. But when I tell you this man knows how to keep money and make money, I'm just telling you, he's the real deal. He's a gift in that way. I would have all of these kind of defenses, like, I'm sorry, like, you're asking me to do what? You know, I was very defensive about, but the way God wired him, at some point, I began to realize that part of my dysfunction when it came to not making money, but keeping money, could be solved by learning from him. Are y'all hearing me? Learning from him and doing some of the hard things that he was asking me to do. So I had to kind of work through my tears and my whimpering and all of that to be able to sit down and say, okay, there's some things I got to change if I'm going to start increasing what God has given me, right? God does not hold back. He is a good father. He will give you those opportunities. He will present you with those things, assuming that you have a God-given vision. But listen to me, if you cannot discipline yourself to sit down and to take the steps to do things like, get out of debt, cut up those credit cards, stop buying every new product that comes on the market. Jamie Lynn Lima Kern, I think is her name, who founded It Cosmetics, talks about this in her book, where she says, you have to become so disciplined with your money, right? And like I'm telling you, when you begin to do that, you will be able to do some things financially that you've been wanting to do. We've been able to do some things financially when I finally got my head out of the sand and like got down to it, that I had been wanting to do. And because I was able to do that, I was able to reorder my work week. Y'all, this isn't just about numbers. I need y'all to hear this. This is not just about numbers. This is about building a vision you love. When you do that, this right here is the secret sauce, and the boot camp is free. I need everybody who's listening to this to register and then send it to 10 of your friends. That link right there, send it to 10 of your friends, and let's do this together. Come on. Anyway, Marguerite, you have been an incredible blessing. And Pastor Andy said it, like, we need like a whole day session, and it's coming in the 5-day boot camp. I'm registering. I'm going to be in there. My team is going to be in there. We are going in. We are going to start taking back and building a vision we love. We love you so much, Marguerite. Thank you for today.
Thank you for today, Karen. I love you a ton. Your community is just everything. And I truly feel like it is such a blessing to even be here today. So thank you so much for inviting me to come on the show. You are the most incredible, fearless leader, and so thankful for you, Karen.
Oh, love you so much. Thanks, Coach John in the back, our executive technical producer, for making the magic happen. Thanks, Pastor Andy. Angela Karanja. Amy is in here. I'll talk to you in a minute, sweet girl. Lorianne, everybody, thank you so much. Look, share this with everybody you know. We want to make not just a difference, but an impact, and we can do it together. Remember, friends, what I'm going to say, you know it. You got more options than you realize. We'll see you in the next episode.